Welcome back to the channel, and for those of you who are new, I am Denise Brady and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. And over here we like to recap, discover things about ourselves, look at some documentaries, some shows. But in my new series, we're gonna go take it all the way back. We're gonna do a throwback to some of our 90s favorites, early 2000 movies from a therapist perspective. And this time we're gonna start with Baby Boy. Okay, now watching this movie now, what comes up for you? Is it that you can relate? Is it that you look at the relationship between Yvette and Tyrese? Maybe Melvin, maybe Tyrese's mom, but all these things as a therapist got me thinking. Tyrese was a black man having an existential crisis. And I think just like in real life, some of the things he goes through as a actual person and the person that he is in the movie kind of have this parallel process going on. And I want us to look at this from an existential point of view. What is existentialism? What is the existential life crisis? Well, that's someone who is having deep thought about where they are, their identity, how they show up. And some of you have gone through that. Some people call it a midlife crisis. Some people call it a quarter life crisis. But I think that looking at it from an existential point of view, we can deep dive, look at trauma, how a lot of those things really impact how we show up in the world. Now you have Jody, a young black man trying to find himself, and he is a mama's boy. Okay, and you see that throughout the movie how he shows up in his relationship with women. But then we got this other person, Melvin, that we're going to talk about. But looking at the relationship between who he is as a person. And we start out with this scene of Jody being in utero, trying to push through, trying to come into life. But a lot of us come into a life, into a system that we have no control over. The ecosystem that your family exists in before you were born, you have no control over. So you're born into something, an ecosystem, on top of societal pressures of how you identify, what you show up as, whether you are a black person, a Latino person, a white person. Those systems have already been built. So now that you are being born, depending on what your mother experienced in utero, depression, domestic violence, trauma, all those things, you feel that. And so you feel him at the beginning of the movie, you see him moving around, kicking, then eventually he is born. Okay, and so let's begin. But make sure before you do, you hit that like, you hit that subscription. Okay, you subscribe. Okay, because you never want to miss a thing. Now, we have this dynamic between him and Yvette. Okay, now their relationship is a lot of people's. The ups, the downs, the intimate moments that blur your mind, blur your vision from what just happened, the domestic violence. And both of these two people, to me, are very lost. They're trying to find themselves, they're trying to exist. Okay, and you have Yvette, to me, who has low self-worth, doesn't have a sense of self, and she's trying to raise a child without knowing who she is while pouring into a young black man. And at times, trying to raise up Tyrese, another black man. So you see this juxtaposition between her raising a black child and the things that he is witnessing, but then also Tyrese, who is also childlike. So in some ways, Yvette becomes a mother in her relationship to Tyrese while also mothering her son. And she tries to walk away at times, but similar to what we see in relationships, intimacy plays a huge role. And at times when you are going through things with your partner, sometimes intimacy is the key to fixing it. As we see over and over in this movie, different layers of intimacy, especially to me in black relationships. Once again, y'all, I am a black woman. I can only speak from black relationships. I've never been in a relationship that is not black, okay? So don't come in my comments. But in relationships, we see a lot of people who mask, hide, divert, deflect with physical intimacy. And you've seen that over and over again in Baby Boy about how when they're having an argument, we see this epic scene where Jody slaps her, and how do they fix it? Intimacy. Okay? And so Tyrese is trying to find himself, figure himself out while being at times a child. And you see his relationship with his mother. See, in that household, he's able to be a man before her boyfriend come in. Okay, he is the man of the house. And because of that role, it is hard for him to take a step back and let her boyfriend come in and be now the man in her life. Because for so long, Tyrese was that man and he was able to be that man. But things about, his relationship with her boyfriend, we're going to that a little bit later because there's some parallel processes happening there. But going back to his relationship with Yvette, over and over again, you see the back and the forth. Okay? And going through, Tyrese having an existential process, where do I fit in? Who do I want to be? And you see him try and sell clothes. You see him try and be the OG to the new young kids. Okay? But oftentimes, he's seeing himself in those younger boys, men. Now look at the scene where him and his best friend Peanut were in the park and, they were trying to get their look back from some of these kids. And so his friend decides to start whipping, beating, and Tyrese wants to live up to being an OG, but he's really not. He's cosplaying. He's a chameleon. Once again, that sense of self as a black man is not there. So he is trying to figure out and be somebody he can't. And then he becomes triggered. When Peanut starts to whip that boy, teen, it triggers him into his own kind of like, ooh, why am I feeling this way? What's coming up for me? And you have to recognize when you are triggered, what is coming up? Is it because I've been through this? Is it because this person has triggered me because they relate to somebody else in my life? Is it their tone of voice? Ask yourself, in this moment, what is coming up for me? What is triggering me? So that is one thing I've seen over and over again. I've also seen him have these dreams. Okay. Now, when you are in REM sleep, that's when you're in a deep sleep. And notice the different dreams you have when you are in REM sleep versus a light sleep. Your subconscious, everything that might be going on consciously that is unresolved, will come up in that subconscious. And we see Tyrese over and over again have these dreams about dying. I think as a young black man living in South Central, that is something that you go through every day. Will you make it home? Will you not? Because what is nowadays the life expectancy of a young black man? I remember back in the day, it was like 25, 26. I don't know if it's really gone up or gone down, but it's something that people experience every day. And I think it was a great movie from John Singleton's point of view. I really miss those type of movies. They don't make them like they used to. But having this young black man go through this existential crisis, trying to figure out who he is, where he fits into the world, and all these different women need something from him or are pulling something from him, to me, except for his mom. You have Yvette needing something from him, the girl at the job sexualizing herself, thinking she can kind of get with him because it has worked in the past, using her body. And I think for Tyrese, he has fallen into the temptation of things in the past, but he seems to try to be changing throughout this movie. And the only person out of the women he has dealt with, to me, who doesn't need anything from him or want anything, is probably his mother. And I think that is something that we see him struggle with, because I think Tyrese in the movie needed to feel wanted, needed to feel strong. And I think that control and that dominance that he was able to have over Yvette really was able to make him feel strong. Okay, and then you have Snoop come into play. Snoop is, to me, what is the word? Snoop is challenging his dominance. Okay, it's that ego. A lot of men are driven by ego. And so you have now Snoop coming in, trying to take his place, trying to show out, trying to show him, you just a baby boy. This is mine over here. Okay, and at times, once again, Tyrese tries to be the OG. He tries to show his manhood. Most of the time it's through sex, but this time he's trying to show in a different way. And so he's tired of Snoop. He gonna get at him. It's gonna get real active. Okay, but when it comes to the scene where it's time for him to really stand up and be that OG that he in his mind think he is, that Tupac poster that he got looking at him, all eyes on me, it was all eyes on you when it was time to take Snoop out. And you couldn't hit that lick. Okay? And you see how, who does he run to? Who can I run to? Who can I run to? Melvin. Okay, you know, him and Melvin have an interesting relationship. Melvin plays the role of his mom's boyfriend. Okay, and I think I saw in an interview somewhere that Tyrese actually said that Melvin actually triggered him in real life. I need to find that because I thought it was quite interesting. But you see how Melvin is really who I think Tyrese think he is, but you see him go into that fetal position and become a little boy. As Melvin over time becomes stronger and has a better relationship with his with Tyrese's mom. Sorry y'all for if y'all hear that beeping. I'm in an office building. But you see how Tyrese at times becomes a little boy. And he wants to show dominance. He wants to show that he is powerful. He is the man of the house. But at the end of the day, he curled up in the ball. And who comforted him? Melvin. Because Melvin knew he been about that life. He been there. Okay? And so when he walks in, at first Tyrese has the gun. And you think he's going to shoot him. I never thought he was because he ain't about that life. And then Melvin slowly comes to him and in some ways shows comfort. And to me, that moment was when I think Tyrese was able to buy in that this person is not against me. They're not trying to take from me. And in some ways, I think that Tyrese was a reflection of Melvin, where Melvin was. And as much as Tyrese wanted to push back against Melvin, they were really kind of the same person. Tyrese was just a younger version of Melvin. Okay, but you see just how over and over again, I think that Tyrese in the movie also had some PTSD. And I think a lot of men have PTSD from community violence, watching people die in front of them, drive-bys, trying to just live, you know, in communities where you're not supposed to make it. And every day you walk into school, you walk into work, you hanging out on the porch, chilling, not really knowing, is it going to be your last time? Because some of these times, someone got shot walking to school. And it's interesting in certain communities where those community violence is more prevalent. I think it's unrealistic that it's expected for young children, young people to get up every day and go to school and just walk past them candles, walk past those balloons, because it's a normalcy. And a lot of people come to me and don't realize they're living with PTSD. All the stuff that they have seen, all the stuff they have gone through, it's normal. Watching somebody get shot, having the police on your block, hearing the sirens, hearing the ghetto bird every morning. All that becomes very normalized. It's not until you meet someone who has not lived that, who has not experienced that, that you realize and recognize, oh, this is not normal. And then you maybe go to therapy one day and realize you might be someone living with PTSD. He had the nightmares, the hypervigilance. But some of that is also just being a black man, having to keep your head on a swivel all the time, on ready. You know, stay ready and got to be ready. So I feel like Tyrese was also someone living with PTSD of just neighborhood violence and things you see growing up in those neighborhoods. But because of, lack of resources, people not caring about those communities, money not being poured into as much as an affluent community, there are not services and community help to help people overcome the mental strain of hearing gunshots, having to get on the floor because it's, New Year's and everybody's shooting. Or, 360 days a year hearing fireworks. Are those fireworks? Or are those gunshots? Do y'all really know the difference? But we see Tyrese just over and over again trying to find himself. And it wasn't until the very end, I feel like did he really become a man? Or was he growing into a man? I think he might have been on his healing journey. And we saw that when him and, Yvette were living together. We see that last scene. But I'm not quite sure if there was a lot of work done there. And of course, let me know, do you guys think they should do a reboot? Should they do the classics alone? Can y'all see another baby boy coming out? Who should play him? Could anybody play him at this point? Okay. But you see how he went from being a baby boy. I don't know if he went to being a man. There's some gray there, but I think he grew into somewhere between finding himself, trying to be more. And he knocks, but then realizes, I got a key. And I hope even for Yvette as a woman, knowing that she put up with so much, I guess, what does it say about her own self-worth? That she continued to stay, that she went and had, a couple of abortions at that point. And it's interesting, I said this in other videos, how men are able to kind of not deal with at times, I feel like men are not able to have to deal with the repercussions of terminating a pregnancy. But then I also feel like men get forgotten about when women are going through termination of pregnancy. The men who really want the child, I should say that. We don't talk about that enough. And even with his mother, she was strong, but she was choosing herself. She had raised him. She had poured into him for so long, but now it's time for me to choose me. And that meant choosing Melvin. And I wonder for young men, for men now who grew up with single moms, you being kind of that boy to man the house, and then your mom suddenly starting to have a relationship or having a relationship with someone. How was that for you to now step aside? Okay, after so long of being the man of the house, was it challenging to then go to just being a child? If you were at child age when your mom started dating seriously, okay, how was it for you to see your mom go to now being in a relationship? Okay, but yeah, I think that Tyrese was having an existential crisis. Where do I fit in? How do I identify? Where do I fit in? How do I identify? Having deep thoughts about my existence. Where do I fit in? How do I show up? Okay, and I want you guys to look at it. Who do you identify with? Tyrese, Yvette, Melvin, Peanut, some of the other little friends in the background, because all the women in this, movie were dealing with toxic relationships. And that's something to also think about, how these early 90s, early 2000s movies always had women being in toxic relationships. Now we get on Tyler Perry about seeing women be in these traumatic relationships, but what about all these 90s movies that showed us all being hurt by men? Okay, but these are just my, a little bit of a therapist perspective on Baby Boy. I want to know your thoughts. What do you think? What movie should I do next? And I will see you guys in the next video. Make sure you hit that like, that subscribe, and you can always send your girl a super chat. Yes, I accept and collect all super chats. Now I will see you guys next time. Bye.